World War II, dehumanization of Jewish people. During World War II, the Nazi regime, led by Adolf Hitler, systematically propagated a narrative that depicted Jewish people as subhuman. The Nazis used this lie to justify extreme and violent policies, claiming that Jews were an enemy race responsible for societal ills. Under Hitler's leadership, laws allowed for the detention, deportation, and murder of millions of Jewish individuals. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jewish citizens of their rights, making it legal to dispossess, oppress, and ultimately exterminate them. This dehumanization wasn't grounded in any truth, but rather in hatred, using fabricated laws as a tool for mass murder. To the time of Jesus, foreigners and dehumanization. In ancient times, especially in regions occupied by Roman rule, foreigners were often seen as lesser or even hostile entities. Some legal systems regarded foreigners as expendable, particularly those not granted citizenship or societal status. The Roman Empire's structure allowed for the enslavement and killing of those they considered outsiders, viewing them as unworthy of human dignity. This attitude was a deep-rooted injustice, one Jesus spoke against through teachings of love and inclusivity, urging his followers to see the humanity in all people. 150 years ago, enslavement and dehumanization of black people. Around 150 years ago, enslaved African Americans were considered property under U.S. law, denying them personhood. If a black individual was enslaved, they were not seen as human in their own right, but rather as the possession of someone else. If they were free, they were often still subject to violence, and some jurisdictions permitted this violence under law. This perception was based entirely on fabricated laws and deep-seated racism, which sought to control, exploit, and dehumanize an entire group of people. 4. In living memory, segregation in whites-only facilities. Within living memory, during the era of racial segregation in the United States, black Americans in the South faced laws that forbade them from using whites-only facilities, including drinking fountains. These laws served to enforce social and physical separation, relegating black Americans to inferior treatment under a guise of separate but equal. If a black person violated these unjust rules, they could be subject to arrest, harassment, or physical assault, often with the law's approval. These laws were designed not for justice, but to sustain racial prejudice and social hierarchy. 5. Modern perspective on fetal rights and legal terminology. Today, legal definitions categorize a fetus separately from a baby, often defining personhood at birth rather than conception. This classification has ignited ethical debates around issues of life, rights, and when human protections should apply. For many, this is seen as a legal distinction without moral clarity. This question, like many in the past, challenges society to consider deeply the rights of the vulnerable and the consequences of how we define life in legal terms. What do you think?